I was standing barefoot in my front yard holding my coffee mug, like it was the last piece of normal life I had left staring at a 35-foot RV that was sticking halfway into my living room. The headlights were blazing across my shattered TV drywall, dust was floating around like sad little snowflakes, and inside the driver's seat, our HOA president was screaming at the cops that I had caused all of this. And the wildest part, everything, every ridiculous second started because I told her 7 simple words. No, Mara, you cannot park it here. Before that night, my life was painfully quiet. 36 years old, working from home, the human version of a beige office chair. My idea of high-intensity drama was when my router rebooted during a Zoom meeting. I bought my house on Ash Sparrow Court because it was boring predictable and tucked neatly inside Cedar Hollow Bluffs, a neighborhood that prided itself on being safe, uniform, and community-oriented, which, as I learned later, was code for ruled by one woman with a clipboard and a God complex. Her name was Mara Yates, late 40s, frosted hair that clearly had its own budget, athleisure outfits that had never met a treadmill. She introduced herself the way a warden introduces prison rules. She showed up the week I moved in with a folder labeled with my name, almost like she'd been waiting for me. "Welcome to Cedar Hollow Bluffs," she announced, inspecting my recycling bin like it had personally insulted her. "We have quarterly inspections, strict standards, and no tolerance for chaos." I remember nodding politely, clutching my mug, thinking I'd never met anyone who could weaponize the word welcome before. For months I kept my head down. I mowed my lawn, didn't paint anything offensive, didn't host loud parties. I was the ideal resident. But then, the RV arrived. It rolled into the neighborhood like a military transport vehicle, 35 feet of fiberglass optimism with Sunseeker Elite plastered across the side. It was so big, it cast a literal shadow over half the cul-de-sac. Kids stopped riding their scooters. Dogs stopped barking. And Mara. She was standing in the street guiding it like she was directing air traffic. "Keep coming, you're fine. HOA president, I authorize it," she shouted, waving it into her driveway, which it barely fit into. The back end hung over the sidewalk like it was threatening pedestrians. 2 hours later, my email pinged. Subject line: "Exciting community upgrade." I opened it. Big mistake. Apparently Mara had decided that her new RV was a community asset, and that due to her driveway being technically undersized, it would need to temporarily rotate between shared driveways in the interest of neighborhood harmony. I read it once, blinked, read it again. Then looked at my own driveway, large flat empty, and realized exactly who she was planning to harmonize onto. The next morning she marched straight toward me with that manicured smile that meant she was about to rewrite the laws of physics. "Good news," she said. "The board approved my RV to rotate into your driveway." I didn't even pretend to consider it. "No," I said. "Absolutely not." Her smile twitched. "Jason, you don't want to be that neighbor." "I absolutely do," I replied. "That neighbor sleeps great." She jabbed at a highlighted paragraph in her folder, insisting driveways were community spaces, and I had to join in the collaborative effort. I grabbed the paper from her hand and pointed at the exact sentence she conveniently ignored. "RVs and boats are prohibited from all driveways." "It doesn't say, unless Mara really wants to," I told her. Her jaw tightened like it was trying to escape her face. She warned me that I was creating conflict, that I wasn't being a team player, and that the community suffers when residents refuse cooperation. I told her to stop trying to turn my driveway into a parking lot for her land yacht. From that day forward, the citation started. My trash can stayed out 23 minutes too long. My porch light was too bright. My flattened cardboard box was unsightly. I caught her standing across the street photographing my grass like she was documenting evidence for a true crime documentary. At the next HOA meeting, she gave a passive-aggressive speech about certain residents who refused to support community initiatives, staring directly at me. That was the moment I installed cameras. One on the yard, one facing the driveway. I didn't know exactly what she would do, but something in my gut told me Mara was the kind of person who didn't accept the word no. And I was right. The night everything went to hell started with a block party. Mara's RV kickoff bash, as she called it. The whole cul-de-sac was lined with folding tables and Costco snacks. She gave tours of the RV like she was selling timeshares. I walked out long enough to be polite, grabbed a plate of chips, and went home. Even from across my lawn I could smell the wine on her breath. She laughed too loudly, shouted too confidently. A storm was brewing behind those frosted highlights, and it wasn't subtle. By 11:30 p.m. the party died down. People stumbled home. The RV sat smugly in her driveway like a massive white whale. I went to bed thinking the drama was over. At 1:07 a.m., my phone buzzed. Driveway cam, motion detected. I squinted at the notification, tapped it, and felt my stomach drop. The RV's headlights were on. The engine was running, and it was slowly turning toward my lawn. I sprinted downstairs, flung open my front door, and froze as the RV climbed over the curb and onto my grass. It dug deep tracks through the yard, chewing up dirt and ripping the lawn like a giant angry toddler. And behind the wheel, I kid you not, was Mara, hair wild, eyes unfocused, yelling into her phone, "He can't say no, Michelle." The board approved. Then the engine roared, drowning the rest out. "Mara," I shouted, "get off my lawn." She jerked in surprise, hit the wrong pedal, and the entire 35-foot beast lurched sideways. Instead of turning into my driveway, which was completely empty by the way she missed it by a miracle of stupidity, and went straight into my living room wall. The impact shook the ground. The front window exploded. My bookshelf flipped like a gymnast. Dust filled the air. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the RV horn started blaring nonstop, echoing across the neighborhood. I just stood there, barefoot in the grass, holding my coffee cup, because it was literally the only thing I managed to grab on my way out. Within minutes, neighbors poured outside in their pajamas. Cops and firefighters arrived, and Mara, still pinned by the airbag, pointed straight at me and shouted, "He blocked my access. This is his fault. I was repositioning a community asset." The officer looked at her like she was a malfunctioning robot. Then he turned to me. "Sir, do you have the camera footage?" Oh, I did. I absolutely did. When the cops watched the video showing the RV turning straight toward my house with my driveway empty right beside it, their expressions changed from confusion to disbelief to, "Are you kidding me?" Suddenly, this wasn't an HOA argument anymore. This was a police report, insurance claim, structural damage investigation. My wall was load-bearing, apparently. The fire marshal told me I was lucky I hadn't been sitting in that room. And for a moment, standing there in the chaos, I felt something I wasn't expecting: doubt. Was I too stubborn? Should I have just let her park the damn thing for one night? Was this whole disaster somehow my fault? But then I remembered I told her no. I told her repeatedly. I emailed it. I documented it. And she still drove a 35-foot RV through my living room because she believed she had the God-given right to control every driveway in the neighborhood. Any guilt I had evaporated. What followed was a week of pure madness. Insurance adjusters, engineers, HOA board members knocking on my door looking like they'd discovered their queen was a fraud. 2 of them admitted they never approved any RV exception because Mara forged their digital signatures. She invented her own permission slip, then tried to enforce it. Soon the whole neighborhood turned on her. Suddenly, everyone had a story how she overstepped, threatened, micromanaged. When an emergency HOA meeting was scheduled, I cleared my calendar. I wasn't going to miss this. The clubhouse was packed. A projector displayed a giant photo of the RV embedded in my house. The HOA's lawyer, Mrs. Patel, laid out 3 charges: the property damage, the false exception, and the forged signatures. Every sentence tightened the noose. Mara tried to defend herself loudly, emotionally, incoherently. I was doing my duty. The RV was for the community. This is a witch hunt. Nobody bought it. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the front, heart pounding. I told them I moved here for peace. I followed the rules. I asked for nothing. But instead of neighborly respect, I got harassment, petty citations, and eventually a 35-foot battering ram through my home. The room fell silent. People actually nodded. Then came the vote. Hands shot up across the room to remove her as HOA president. Only Mara and one confused old guy, who clearly wasn't paying attention, voted no. The motion passed. The new interim president, this sweet kindergarten teacher named Dana, walked up to Mara and gently took her clipboard away. Watching that moment felt like watching a tyrant lose her crown. Then the final blow, Mrs. Patel informed Mara that she owed approximately $47,000 in damages, legal fees, and reimbursements. Mara's face drained of color. She stammered, swayed, whispered that she couldn't, that it wasn't supposed to happen. But it did. And for once, she couldn't bully, threaten, or manipulate her way out of it. That was where it ended. No victory parade, no celebration. Just the quiet realization that justice, slow, painful, messy, justice finally landed where it needed to. And here's the lesson I learned: some boundaries only protect you if you're brave enough to hold them.